Welcome to the first episode of Investigation Exodus. In the spirit of the intrepid explorers that you may like to watch on TV, we're going to dig deeper into the story of the Exodus. We're going to take a look back in time to see what really happened. So I invite you to travel with me to ancient Egypt to talk with those involved. We begin our investigation by hearing the story from our storyteller, Turner Page. Over to you, Turner.
Hello, I'm Turner Page. Our story begins a millennia ago. There's a people called the Israelites living in the land of Egypt. When they first settled there in the land of Goshen, centuries before our story begins, they were simply the family of a man named Israel. His descendants from his 12 sons have become a numerous people. Over the centuries, they become more slave than citizen, and now work hard to build cities for the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. However, the sheer number of Israelites now has this Pharaoh concerned for his safety and his power. He feels this way even though the Israelites have been nothing but good workers and never made any move to take power, even though there are almost more of them than there are Egyptians. In an unprecedented move, Pharaoh issues an order that Israelite midwives, the women who help other Israelite women have their babies, are to only let baby girls survive. That isn't something the midwives are comfortable with. They trust in God, whom they call Yahweh. They do not follow Pharaoh's order. This is a brave thing to do. Pharaoh is very angry with them. So two of the midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, are called before Pharaoh to answer for their lack of obedience. They tell him the Israelite women usually have their babies before they can even get there to help. Since using the midwives isn't getting this wicked deed done, Pharaoh turns to the population as a whole. He says every Israelite baby boy must be thrown into the Nile River. This is where our story about the Israelites takes an interesting turn. One woman who has a baby boy hides him for the first 3 months of his life. But when she cannot hide him any longer, she makes a basket, covers it to make it waterproof, and puts the baby in the basket. Then she puts the basket into the Nile River. His older sister watches to see what happens to the basket. The basket is found by the Pharaoh's daughter. The princess decides to keep the baby as her own son. The baby's sister offers to get a nurse for the baby and actually gets the baby's own mother to care for him until he is able to be with the princess. Once he is old enough, the baby goes back to live in the palace with the princess. She gives him a name that means he was drawn from the water. That name is Moses. Moses is raised as an Egyptian in the palace, but Moses will play a big part in the rest of the story of the Israelites.
I'm here with one of the midwives our storyteller told us about. This is Shiphrah. Thank you for speaking with me. I understand that to tell your story can be dangerous. My investigation so far tells me that you did not obey Pharaoh's orders when it came to the Israelite babies. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, I am an Israelite, so I believe in God, one God, Yahweh, and I know that He would want our people to be protected, especially our babies. Our children. He wants them to grow and be strong Israelites. So I did everything I could to protect my people. I bring babies into this world. That's my job. I could not do what that Pharaoh has to do.
So you simply didn't do what Pharaoh wanted. That sounds very brave. What happened?
I'm not brave, but I just did what I needed to do. When Pharaoh asked us to not keep those baby boys, I couldn't do it. Our women are strong, and I told him they just had the babies without me. I couldn't do anything else. I had to keep the children safe.
So, you lied to Pharaoh.
Yes and no. Our women, they're so strong. They work in the fields. They take care of the livestock. They help. They have their babies quickly. I can't do anything about that. Most of them.
But Pharaoh believed your story, so you got away with it.
Yes, he did believe me. But, well, he still was not happy. And our people, they still were not safe. I had to keep those babies safe.
So what happened to you after you spoke with Pharaoh?
Yahweh is amazing. Yahweh blessed me. He blessed me with a baby. I love my babies. I love children. He kept me safe. But Pharaoh had other plans. He still made it dangerous for my people. And he made a new decree. Any baby boy born was to be thrown into the Nile. Our people were not safe.
Well, it sounds like Yahweh is stronger than Pharaoh. When you have faith in God, you do the right thing. Thank you so much for being with us, Shipra. So I have another guest here. This is the princess who saved the baby Moses. Princess, did you know that Moses was an Israelite baby?
Well, when I found him in the reeds along the edges of the Nile, I suspected that he might be one of them. It was a clever thing. All the baby boys were ordered to be put in the Nile, and that's exactly what this mother did. She followed the law, but she did it in a way that would save her baby.
So if you knew, why would you save him? Your father wanted them all gone.
Well, he just looked so sad when I found him, and clearly he was well loved. I couldn't just leave him there. I'd always wanted a child of my own, but did not yet have any. I decided the gods had provided. And who was my father to speak against our gods? He had no way to be sure of where the baby came from, and he rarely said no to me, because I was allowed to keep the baby.
So you wanted a child of your own, and you didn't care that he wasn't an Egyptian. I guess you raised him as one.
Yes, I did. I gave him an Egyptian name, Moses. It means I drew him from the water. I raised him in the palace along with the other princes, and I gave him all I could give him. He grew into a wonderful boy, then a strong man.
Did you also tell him about his Israelite background?
I told him very little about his background, but I did allow him to visit with the woman who nursed him when he was a baby. I suspect it was probably his mother, and I did not supervise those visits, so she probably told him who he was. But he never asked me. He was always my sweet boy.
Did you ever imagine that Moses might someday rise up against the Pharaoh and free his people?
Well, I had no idea what Moses was going to be when he was grown. He was given all the advantages I could give him. He learned about Egyptian life and how to be a prince. But if his mother told him about who he really was, then the cries of his people would not have fallen on deaf ears. He would have cared about them.
I taught him to be caring of all people, even if he were a prince.
Well, there you have it. An Israelite raised an Egyptian in the palace, no less. And he was to become the one who would make a real difference for his people. God does seem to work in mysterious ways. Until next time, this is Sandy Rhodes for Investigation Exodus.